Now Frank writes, "Hi Steve, I love your blog, so informative." Thank you, Frank. "I'm writing to see if you can do an article on indoor residential elevators. I live in a split-level house in Southborough, Massachusetts. As a 77-year-old, I have been senior-proofing my home for years. I have thought if I ever needed to live in a place with one floor, it would be far less expensive to install an elevator than to sell my home. Heck, the cost of a realtor's commission alone would more than pay for an elevator, I think. Any thoughts?" Well, Frank's absolutely right, and he's exceptionally wise, too. Very few people that I know want to move into a nursing home when they get older. Who would? Who wouldn't want to stay in their own home? But Frank is taking steps to make sure that he can stay in his own home as long as possible, and maybe for the duration. So he's exceptionally wise to start that. And I'd also agree with his take that an indoor elevator is the way to go. Products of this sort are exploding, really, as the population ages and people want to take care of themselves in their own home. Governments are even encouraging people to renovate their homes now, encouraging them with words and with money, too, because the regular nursing home approach is very expensive. When you take away all the subsidies that some places offer for this sort of thing, you're looking at maybe $100,000 a year just to stay in a nursing home. Now, some people pay less, but they're not actually paying the full cost. The full cost to society is about $100,000 a year for a modern nursing home in the Western world, and that's a lot of money. It really does add up, especially considering that most people spend an average of 5 years in a nursing home. So when it comes to interior elevators, there are a couple of suggestions. First, you want to explore the local commercial landscape and see who is in the business of doing this. There are lots of outfits that are in the business of dealing with residential elevators. One of the most common types is what's called a porch lift, which is a great alternative to a wheelchair ramp when you don't have enough room. It probably costs less for an outdoor porch lift than it would cost to build, say, a proper ramp from wood. There's a lot of wood in a ramp. There's foundation work to do, all kinds of things. So we've got the outdoor porch lifts, which are kind of like an open elevator. There's a big door, you roll in there, you close the door, you hit a button, and it goes up the 2 or 3 or 5 feet or whatever it needs to get onto your porch, or some sort of a landing so you can go in your house. Now what Frank is asking about is an indoor residential elevator, which are similar. They're more expensive because they're more involved, but they serve the same purpose in that they basically make the whole house one level. And there are specialist companies that offer that, usually the same companies that offer the outdoor porch lifts. Now there is another option that Frank and other people might want to consider, and that's a stair lift. And these can be installed on most any kind of interior stair. It involves the installation of a rail, quite a strong rail on the side of the stairwell opening, and there's a seat on there, and it's electrically operated, so you hit a button and it kind of takes you up or takes you down, and that is much less expensive and intrusive to install than an indoor residential elevator, just because there's so much less to do. With the elevator option, you have to take up some floor space. You've got to completely redo the framing, and then you have to have the equipment installed, whereas with the stair lift, it's just something that fastens to your stair. And in fact, if the time comes that the house, you don't need the house anymore, or it's going to be bought by someone else, then that lift can be taken off, the stair lift. So 2 options to consider.